Israel does not control the United States of America, and that's a very common misconception that I see, though I do see where you're coming from. Israel is a geopolitical project created by the West for the West. Israel is a Western colony in the Middle East. It is used as a way to steal, as a way to kill, and as a way to have military operations across the entire world under a different name, and also as a way to spy. Let's simplify the subject completely by using two questions. Can the US exist without Israel, and can Israel exist without the US? The US has used more than 50% of all their veto power in the United Nations to be in favor of Israel. Let's suppose that the US can no longer do that. How do we do that? You expel the United States of America from the United Nations. They can no longer access that veto power. You have already taken away something huge from Israel. Let's also say that the US can no longer send military aid into Israel. Let's say that they can no longer send money to Israel. Israel can no longer exist the way that it does. Israel will begin to collapse on itself because it no longer has that Western infrastructure that it needs to be able to stand. In addition to that, the US was the first country to recognize the so-called State of Israel as a legitimate nation, which it's not, on May 14th, 1948. And so without that recognition from the United States of America, it might have taken a lot longer for the so-called State of Israel to exist in the first place. Of course, they already had their militias in Palestine. They were already killing and expelling the Palestinian people. By the time the so-called State of Israel was recognized, 300,000 Palestinians had already been displaced, forcefully expelled from their homes. Okay, now for the other question. Can the United States of America exist without Israel? Yes, because it has. It existed long before the so-called State of Israel. Right? The US was already committing massacres and ethnic cleansings and slavery, right? The US already had that power. And especially after World War II, they were the only country that still stood on their feet after World War II because they were lucky geographically. Israel is a settler colony that acts as a military base for the West. That's why every single adult who is so-called Israeli has to be in the IOF. And no longer does this exclude Orthodox Jews. It's very blatant when you put it in black and white. The US can exist without Israel, but Israel cannot exist without the US. The reason why a lot of people think that Israel controls the US is because they say, well, yes, Zionists are in control of the US. That's true. But Zionism is just a repackaging of white supremacy and colonialism. It's just a repackaging of the same agenda that the US invaded the actual land that they are on now. It's the same excuse that they are using. White supremacy is literally the reason. It is Western supremacy. It is colonialism. It is the idea that they can get away with everything because they are the chosen people. It is fascism. And so you think that Zionism is separate from fascism, but it's not. Zionism can be equated to Nazism as well because they have quite literally the same ideologies. We are the chosen people. We are God's favorite people. We deserve this. We were told by God to kill all these people. We don't like all these people. That's the exact same ideology. So it's literally just a way to be able to get away with saying, I am a white supremacist, I am a Western supremacist, without actually saying that. That's why when Elon Musk equated saying, oh, so now I'm a Zionist and a Nazi, it didn't have the same message he thought it would have. He thought it was ridiculous to say that, but no. That's why we call them Zionazis, because it's the same thing.